Hey, welcome back to Leafy Life. I'm Susie and this channel is my space to share my love of houseplants.
In this house, I am tending to leafy life, reaching green and bending toward the light. Leafy life, this is my leafy life.
So onwards we go with the second part of my Peperomia series. This one is more about repotting and propagations and jobs to do with my Peperomia and what they currently need. It was never planned to be this long, but I do love Peperomia and I found that I had a lot more to say than I realised. So I hope you enjoy it. If you want to get on with some other stuff while you're doing it or use it to get yourself to sleep or whatever, it's here for you to relax with or be busy with as you see fit. I hope you enjoy it and on we go. Okay, I've just brought you a bit lower down, back down on the floor. I don't have a cutting mat and I don't really want one because I don't want to have to store one and I don't want to have to wipe one down all the time, but I've just got an old towel which I find easy to just shake off and then wash it. So yeah, I've got my mixing bowl and I've put in some standard houseplant compost and a kind of semi-generous amount of perlite. I've just been giving that a little bit of a mix, just trying to gauge what I feel like the Peperomia will like. Fairly generous amount of perlite. I might even put a tiny bit more in there. I'm not quite decided. Just trying to have a feel of it and guess how quickly the water's going to drain away. Yeah, I don't want it to be ridiculously drying for them, but yeah, I just don't want them sitting in too moist soil. I'm going to give another handful of perlite. There we go. That just looks kind of right to me at the moment. I can always tweak if I feel it needs it. So I'm going to bring you right down here and give you a bit more like my view of a close-up of this this Peperomia. And I'm just going to be pulling out all the dead leaves, all the rotting bits, and then I'm just going to pull it out of its pot. Actually, I might just do all of that together. Gonna pull it out of its pot and see how it naturally divides, see how many plants that makes, and then pot those up. I've got some small pots here. I've got some teeny pots which I don't think I'm going to need. Sorry, I realise that's quite camouflage against me. I've got some teeny little ones which I don't think I'll need. I think it'll need slightly bigger, but it just depends how little the clumps are individually when I get them apart from each other. But I've got a few that are the next size up. I've got loads of these. I have a local shop that is very it's a wonderful kind of old kind of everythingy shop, and it just has the most random stuff, but most of the time you need something, you will find it in there. And it's got a tiny little gardening bit that has big stacks of these for not a lot of money. So I just got like a tower of them recently. I've been looking for them all over the place and that's where I found them. I don't know why I didn't just go there first, but anyway, yeah, got loads of those and I use them all the time. So yeah, let's get down to this. Okay, it probably looks like I've really skipped ahead without you. Turns out I'd not pressed record when I was dividing up the plant, so I just pulled it out of its pot and started like easing out the soil from the roots, and it just started breaking up. It has not gone to plan at all. It's in pieces and there are no roots. It's awful. There are barely any roots. They're just so hair-like. There's a section here that does have roots on and they are really, really narrow. That's a thick one. The rest are much more hair-like. So basically the plan was, based on things like the Clusiae folia, which divided up really well, I felt fairly perhaps overconfident in dividing this up, and yeah, it has not gone well. So you missed the bit where I kind of started trying to pull different sections apart, and they just snapped. They just snapped off with no roots. So that's where it snapped off the rest of the clump. Obviously, this is a type of peperomia I've not dealt with in this detail before, and it does have a very different stem structure to the clusiifolia. But yeah, it's just breaking apart, and I actually feel like I don't have any hopes left that this plant can carry on in the way it's been growing. I don't think I can pot up these clumps. There's just no roots for most of them, and they're in a really sorry state. When I look closely, there are so many rotting leaves, and when I go to pull them out, it's just I'm finding more pests. So I said it had mealybugs, but I have found juvenile thrips in here as well. And like I said, it's just not a type of clump and leaf type that is easy to keep on top of pests. So these were completely hidden. I had no idea that it had thrips as well, because from the surface, you know, from the outer leaves, they were just not visible. It's a darker leaf, and it was just so clumped together. So I think partly the nature of this plant, plus how densely packed it was, plus just how long I'd left it before repotting, has just kind of, all of those things have grouped together to be a sorry state. So I'm going to learn from this that when I intend to repot something, I should just get on and do it within the next few days and not leave it until it's more convenient and it fits in with other relatable things, but that in itself it just deserves to be got on with. It doesn't need to wait for some other thing that is happening alongside it, that I should just do it, get it done. So that's what I've learned from this plant being so terrible. I think the only way forwards really is to do some leaf cuttings and to see if I can propagate anything from this sorry pile of remnants. Some of the leaves are in an okay state, like clean, not floppy, not pesty. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It will be a learning curve to see if I can propagate this plant. I have found that some peperomia are really awkward to do leaf cuttings from, and some are high success rates. My Peperomia Rana Verde has been amazing. I'm just going to bring you up here a sec. Sorry, I just thought you might have got a bit bored of staring at a pile of really sad bits of plant. Yeah, the Peperomia Rana Verde, the first one that I showed you, the first one I ever owned, it was just such a lucky find because it's really easy to propagate from leaf cuttings, and although it may not be quick, it has had a really high success rate for me, and it was a really magical thing to play around with when I was first getting into houseplants. I had little people to look after, and I didn't have a lot of time to myself, but the time that I did have, I was happily tinkering about and starting to get kind of like experimental with some plant care. Still really unknowledgeable and inexperienced. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. I didn't know anyone planty. I know lots of gardeners, but I didn't know anyone who looked after a lot of houseplants. And yeah, I just found it such a fun thing to pluck off these leaves, just poke them straight in some soil and wait, and then discover these miniature, tiny, exquisite bright green leaves poking out of the soil one day. It was just like such treasure. It was like the best post coming through the letterbox. It was such a lovely thing, and I found it so exciting. I've always found new growth really exciting, so seeds popping up, germination, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think propagation is just such a magical thing, and that magic doesn't really go away. But I think particularly the Peperomia Rana Verde, it's just the loveliest thing to propagate, because I love the plant itself, and seeing the way that pops up, like it's it's such a separate new little plant of its own, because so you have let's see if I can, I'll show you on one of these. So actually I'll show you on an actual one. Okay, I've just I've just pulled this off my mother plant of the Rana Verde. So yeah, this is what I would use for a leaf cutting, just as it is. So the leaf itself, the little stem, and it doesn't really matter how long the stem is. You can have longer, you can have shorter, as long as there's a bit of the stem to go into the soil. And I know some people have done it without any stem and just done even just like half leaves, and that can work too, but I prefer doing it this way because that's what's worked for me. So yeah, you can put that in water. I've done that way with a watermelon peperomia. I used to have a watermelon peperomia, and it was doing really well, and I took leaf cuttings from it just like this, and I made the cutest little baby watermelon pepper. Why can I not say watermelon? I keep saying watermelon. I think I'm tired. Yeah, it made the cutest baby miniature watermelon peperomia. There we go. If I say it slowly, it will come. And I gave that to a dear friend, and that kept going really well for quite a long time, actually, quite a few years. It was the most exquisite thing. I'll see if I can dig out a photo of it. I did used to love photographing my little plants and propagations. They're just gorgeous. But yeah, it was so cute watching that come up. So the way that they form, so you have your leaf and your stem, and whether it's in water or whether it's in soil, it's up to you. If you want to watch the roots form, then pop it into water and then move it over to soil when they've formed. But yeah, so pop it down, and eventually the roots will form just from the tip. So they won't be coming out at points, because there's no nodes on a peperomia like this. So it's just forming from this end of the stem. So you'll get like, I wonder if I've got one to show you. I don't think I have got one to show you at the moment. But yeah, it'll be like loads and loads of little roots eventually clumping there, and then when it's ready, it will then send up a little new leaf, so from that base. And if you've got it in soil, the first thing that you will see of it having rooted and actually like starting to grow is that you'll see this little bright green miniature version of this, like a dot coming up from the soil, and it's so bright green and it's so tiny, it's just a speck of green, and you're like, oh, you see it, like you've been watching for weeks, and you then see it, and it's this little fleck of green, and you go, oh, hello tiny little leaf. And then slowly but surely others come along and join it, and they start coming up higher, and each successive one is a tiny bit bigger, and it just kind of clumps and forms its own new plant, and it's just magic. So I will try and propagate this one. I feel a bit rusty because I haven't been doing as much with these for a while, but I have got one. Actually, I've got one in soil, and I know it's rooted because I had several of these in a little pot of this size. So I might just show you that actually. So yeah, I had like, I think 3 or 4 in a pot of this size in soil, and I know that some of them failed because they just went floppy, a bit rotten, and I could just lift them out and the stems were just floppy and they weren't working. But the last one, the leaf is still solid and sturdy, and when I tug on it, it will not come. So the stem has rooted. I know it's attached into the soil and it's gripping down in there with new roots. So I know that one's worked. I'm just going to get that to show you. Here it is. So this one I popped into the soil quite a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago. Obviously being winter and having weaker sunshine and less hours of it. Sorry, I'm not actually showing you my. Yeah, any propagations may well be a lot slower to propagate at the moment, but as we're getting into longer daylight hours, that should change again. But yeah, so this one, as I said, the other ones that were in the pot with it have gone in the bin. They were just failed and rotting. They just hadn't taken, maybe they'd been too wet, maybe it'd been too cold. I just feel like maybe I'm going to have a higher success rate with propagations like this as spring comes along. But the fact that one of them has worked is really lovely. And in the past, when I've done a pot, with a few leaf cuttings in, just like separately, like plopped into one pot, when I've done that before, every single one has worked. There have been no failures, so I think maybe that's given me a false sense of security that it will just work flawlessly every time. But it's fine, you just have to go with the, you know, the failures as well, and just accept that sometimes propagations just don't work. So but taking lots means that hopefully you'll get one or a few that do work, even if some of them don't. But yeah, so when I tug at this, sorry, it's not coming, it's definitely got some roots going in there. I'm not going to disturb it to show you, but when I hope when rather than if, when this sends up its new, there's nothing there right now, when this sends up its first little new green bit, I will be sure to share it with you because it's so lovely. If I have photos of that from previous times, I'll pop it in there. If not, you'll just have to wait and wait until this one works, or this one. So you can see the difference in colour. I think maybe this has had thrips because everything on the windowsill has had thrips, and I think I remember finding some. So yeah, it's a brave little leaf getting on with it anyway. I hope that it will continue to just take its time and send up some new growth when it's ready. But I will not waste this one. I will pop this, I might pop this one into water because that would be fun to see the roots form, and then I can show them to you if it takes. I would say I'd take a few, but just because the mother plant has been struggling with thrips and I've lost quite a few of the leaves lately, I don't really want to tax it by taking any more leaves off on purpose. But when that's kind of floofed out again and recovered, I will definitely do some more cuttings of these because they're just so cool. Right, so back to this one, the whatever this one is that I'm struggling with. So I would like to try taking some leaf cuttings in the same way for this, and I'm going to try doing a few different ways. So I think I'll take a few and put them into water, take a few and put them into soil, and also research this particular plant and see what's worked for other people. And I might try taking a bit of a clump and just putting it in its own little pot. Let's do that with one of them and just see if that works, because there are bits that are rooty and stemmy, so why wouldn't they propagate? I mean, if a leaf on its own can propagate from that type of stem, then oh well, there we go, there's one. Maybe that kind of more woody stem with all the like previous leaf points on it, maybe that could start to root. I just feel like it's worth a try. It's a real shame because, you know, this was a brand new plant. It was not like crazy money, it was not an expensive rare plant, but it was a mature peperomia that was looking really good when I brought it home, and I've just let it go to rack and ruin. I mean, it may be that it was hiding those pests even when I brought it home, but I feel like if it was, it probably would have gotten downhill sooner, because it has been sitting for when was that? Yeah, a good couple of months. I feel like it probably, the pests have like come along since I've had it, I would think, and they've just been so impossible to spot because of, like I said, being this dense forest. And I just should have gone with my gut sooner. I should have just straight away repotted it. I'm really annoyed with myself that I didn't do that, because it was so obvious. It was crying out to me that it should do that. Not because it was an ill plant, or it was just, I knew that I would look after it better. I would see its problems sooner if it wasn't so densely packed, and if it was in a slightly different soil as well. I actually don't think this soil is too bad. There's perlite in it. It's quite a nice choice of soil, but I couldn't really see, because there was so many leaves so tightly together and so low down to the soil level. I just couldn't really see into the soil, and I just couldn't see to look after it properly. So I'm going to stop wittering on about it now. But I am going to see what I can do about rescuing some cuttings, and maybe in the future this plant might take off again and become a thing again, because it's a very sorry pile of stuff right now. But yeah, I'll get on with just sorting that out now and put it up. I think I'll do that all sped up because it's getting late and I have talked at you incessantly for a while, and I'm going to be talking to you again tomorrow about the other repots. So thank you for listening so far. Sorry for being so wittery about this one, and yeah, I will get on with that. Okay, I've just found a little creepy crawly. I don't know if it's like a larvae, but it can go. Preferably not on me. I cannot believe the roots on these. They are so crazily thin. Whatever I do plant up of these, I'm going to give it a thorough wash down, because there could easily be little things I'm not seeing in terms of like juvenile thrips. I can't actually see, oh there's one, I can't actually see any mealybugs now, but there's some juvenile thrips there. So annoying. Why do they have to get everywhere? Oh, is that a mealybug? No, that's just some white stuff. Yeah, whatever I put up, I will give a thorough wash down and some horticultural soap, and probably keep these as separate as I can from other plants, because that would be good not to spread any bugs. I'm going to try and put up this little section because this bit of like stem into root has got some side roots coming off it still, so I don't want to waste those. I'm gonna put that bit up. So that's kind of a little chunky plant of its own. Not a fabulous one, but it has potential. That's a bit big, I think, so I'm just going to go and get some more of that size of pot. I know I could just throw all this away and save myself a lot of bother, but partly having invested in this plant, I want to see if I can rescue it. Partly it's a living thing, so I want to help it, and partly I'm just curious. This is a peperomia I haven't experienced at all before, and it's not a type of peperomia I've really experienced. It does feel quite different from the Rana Verde. I can see similarities in the structure, but it does feel quite different. It actually feels a lot more succulent. I think it's quite a thirsty one. And yeah, I'm curious to see if I can make it work in different ways, whether it's, you know, having divided these up and seeing if it can kind of form more roots, because it's got such minimal roots left. I want to see if it can form some new roots. I want to see if I can make the stem cuttings work, or leaf cuttings work. So yeah, I'm curious and I want to see. I mean, even if it doesn't work for me, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not possible. It's just I might have got it wrong, or as I said, you know, not all divisions and not all propagations work every single time. Sometimes just conditions aren't quite right and it can struggle, but we can just try. And ooh, that one will be a leaf cutting then. I'm making a little pile over here of leaves that I think have potential, yeah, just put those separately to plant up or to put into water. I'm just gradually going to work my way through the debris of what's left. And in between a lot of these stems, there are a lot of, you can probably just about see all these little brown bits. They are old dead leaves, and I'm just trying to fish them out because they're not going to help the plant if they're in contact with the actual stem. They could make the stem go mouldy. The stems of these are quite fleshy. They're very, very succulent stems, and without without the right amount of moisture to suck up, I think they're just really flimsy, and the joining point of them is really weak. I've just found another of those like larvae things, and it's crawling away between the stems in here. I don't like it. I want to get it out because I just think it might really damage the plant, whatever it is, but I don't think I can reach in there. I'm going to try it under the tap. Well, that worked. So I've just given it a rinse under the tap, and it has washed away the little creepy, long, sort of clear larvae thing. I did lose this little leaf in the process, but I feel like it was worth it to clear that out of the way, and that can go in my pile over there. So yeah, I think that's all I need to do for that one. I'm gonna see. Ooh, sorry. I'm gonna see if this one will root as it is. So I'm gonna pot this one up. There we go. So that's it potted up. I really like that little clump on its own, and I feel like that's much more of a doable plant on its own rather than the big forest of them. So as long as that does actually form some roots from that main stem, then that could totally be a plant that works. It's just, I think, a matter of time. If this just wilts, we'll know that it isn't gonna happen. But if it continues to look fairly upright and nice, then yeah, we'll hold out some hopes that it might form some roots. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, and I'll let you know. Even if it fails, I will let you know. But yeah, that is a little baby plant. So there are no roots on that one. There's the main stem but no roots, whereas this one does actually have, or was it that one? I've already forgotten now. I think it was that one. Actually had a couple of side rooty hair-like roots. So yeah, maybe I should label it. I could get a Sharpie and just say roots, no roots. Right, I'm going to carry on sorting through this. We have roots. Okay, that's a fairly promising clump. That has quite a few roots in compared to the others. So I'm just going to weed out any dead bits. That's an old flower that has gone mangy. My fingertips they feel so cumbersome in amongst all these little stems, so I'm just using the blade of this, the point of these scissor blades, to get in there and poke out the old rotten bits of ancient leaves. I'm going to try tweezers actually. I've got my terrarium tweezers here. Oh, that's much easier. I knew it would be, I just couldn't be bothered to lean over and get them, but that shows how lazy I can be about something that will make my job easier. I haven't seen any more signs of mealybugs, which is a good thing because I really detest having to deal with that. I just think it can be so finicky to make a thorough job of getting down into a plant to check for mealybugs. They're just so good at hiding, and it can be sometimes impossible to get everywhere. And so you just have to do such regular checks to kind of keep them at bay. So I'm really glad I haven't seen any more signs of them. Maybe it was just one single one having a go at setting up a new colony in it, and I managed to stop it in time. Okay, right, this will need a wash because obviously there have been thrips on this plant. Can't see any on this section, but there might be some somewhere. So I will clean in amongst the leaves once I've potted it up, but I'm just gonna get those roots and that stem into a pot now. There we go. It doesn't feel very stable just because of the structure of that particular section. A bit wibbly wobbly and top heavy, but I've just done my best to pack the soil around it as high as I can within reason, without squodging it down too much. So yeah, there's another little plant that has got some roots, so we'll see how that one goes. I guess I should put that on that side. So slightly rooted, no roots. Ooh, this is good. Right, this is a much bigger section of plant, and it does have some roots, some proper roots. That's probably the most roots out of all of it, and it is the biggest section, so that makes sense. I think that this does not divide as well as things like the Clusiofolia and maybe potentially other ones. Having said that, I've never divided my Peperomia rana verde. I think just that might be worth experimenting on at some point, but I certainly don't want to do anything like that to the mother plant because she's too precious and I've no need to divide her. But it would be nice to know. I keep thinking I'm seeing a mealybug, but it's just a tiny little bit of perlite. Whoops, I've just snapped a stem, sorry. And it has a thrip on it. I thought you might appreciate a closer view of my little dissecting stuff here. So when a leaf just falls out like that, I'm just making sure it's not got any obvious thrips, and I'm just putting it on my pile for leaf cuttings, and then I'm just taking my tweezers. You could do this with short tweezers. I just happen to have long terrarium ones to hand because I have some terrariuming to do tomorrow with some of those little tiny Peperomia. I've just realised, I'm so sorry, that was not in view for you. Sometimes I get so carried away that I don't stop to check the view. And again. Sorry. Right, let's get over this side a bit. There's loads to pull off here. I'm hoping I don't find any more of those little annoying larvae. I've seen them on a plant before, and a while ago, just like, I think it was a plant that had been outside, or a plant pot that had been outside. No, I can't remember. I cannot remember what it was, but they're just really wriggly and annoying, and I don't actually know what they are. I don't think they're fungus gnat larvae because I tend to just find one or two at a time rather than like loads. And I know that fungus gnats, they lay a lot of eggs and presumably have a lot of larvae. Okay, so that is an example of me holding something and then suddenly flinging it to the floor. I hope I'm not the only one that does that, but it is really frustrating because things just smash or get broken. There we go. So we lost a leaf, but it's not that bad. The roots are still intact for this clump, so that's good. I'm just going to hold it with a bit more care. Go slowly. I just want to, as thoroughly as possible, get out any remnants of like dead matter that could potentially rot the nice healthy leaves. What did I just see that I want to show you? Oh yeah, So peperomia flowers, that's something I was going to talk to you about. Here are some. I'm going to pull them out because I don't think the plant doesn't really need it. I think they've sort of finished anyway, and the plant does not need to be thinking about producing or maintaining flowers because it's going to be about survival right now. So I'm just pulling these out. So yeah, these are the flowers, and if you've not kept peperomia before, you might not be familiar with them. A lot of people on like planty forums post photos of their peperomia and say, "What is this? Should I keep it?" And they haven't yet experienced them before, and yeah, they're fine. You can keep them on or you can pull them off. It's really up to you. I tend to let mine carry on, and then as they sort of go floppy and die back, I pull them off. So if they're looking floppy and finished with, I pull them off. But I figure I just let the plant have its day with them. But yeah, they're kind of rope-like. They've got all these little points on them, which I think is where the pollen forms. I've never tried to do anything with them, but you can, and that's something I'll look into. Not at the moment. I just want to pull that one out if I can, but I don't think I can get the whole thing at the moment. See if the tweezers can get this little leaf out of the way, which I think is dying back. There we go. Right. Oh, there's some stuff to come out. This is actually quite satisfying. Fiddly, but satisfying. Is that? That's just tiny new leaves. I'm just going to see if I can show you that. It's going to be hard to show you. Oh yeah. Okay, right there. There are some new. Why am I whispering? Am I worried I'm going to scare it off? Yeah, right in there are some new little leaf points coming out, and they look healthy. They haven't rotted. Whenever I see bits like that, I'm like, oh, mealybug, and it's not. It is just perlite, so that's fine. I'm going to pull off this little leaf because it's all twisted, presumably from some interaction with thrips. I'll give this a wash off shortly. I think I've pretty much got all I can get in terms of tidying up the debris, so it's looking a lot clearer in there. Or maybe just get that bit from in there. I think that'll do. Okay, I'm gonna pull back a bit. So this is the biggest clump that has stayed with roots on. So yeah, it's not a lot of roots, but it's not nothing. So that's all tidied up. Yeah, as I was saying, so yeah, it's not a lot of roots, but it's not nothing, and that should help it. And then I'm hoping that other roots will form as well. So I'm going to get this potted up. There we go, all potted up. Again, it's a bit top heavy, but I think it's very thirsty, and once it's had a drink and the soil is a bit heavier, a bit more saturated with moisture, that will weigh it down a bit, and hopefully if it takes off and roots, it will gradually become more stable anyway. Which side was the rooted side? I have forgotten. This side? Yes, I think so. Okay, I'm just going to search for some maybe good leaves among all of this stuff, and there is one more section I'm just going to inspect first. Oh look, a root, a single root. That is treasure. I'm just going to use the tweezers to get in there and get rid of all the mouldy little old bits of, I think they're mostly mouldy flowers actually. There's one. Okay, that's kind of ew. Oh. Okay, I'm going to pull that leaf off. Just a slightly rotting leaf. I thought it was a great big worm for a second from this view. Anyway, okay, that is as clear as I can get that in terms of debris. And I want to be really careful with this root because it's the only bit, it's potentially the only bit of the plant that's going to keep itself alive for a little while. So I'm going to carefully pot this up, and then I will search for some good leaves here. And then I'm just going to gather up all the leaves, go and give them a nice wash under the tap, just in case there are any more thrips, particularly juvenile thrips lurking there. Any mature ones I would have seen because they're dark black and bigger, but the juvenile ones are just, they're really, really harder to spot on some colours of leaves. And then I can get all these little leaf cuttings, some of them into water and some of them into soil. So again, I'll speed that bit up, but that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'll show you when that's done. So I've put those other leaves into soil, and I've got some here that I'm going to put into water. I've cleaned them all. I might just tip out a bit. I've cleaned them all and made sure that they're as strong as can be. So I'm just going to rest those in there like that, put them on the windowsill. And then I thought it might be fun to try some sphagnum moss, because I'm new to playing with sphagnum moss, and I've got some other things that I'm seeing if they'll propagate. I've got this little tub and I'm gonna fill it up and poke them in there. So I've just rinsed this under some nice room temperature water, and I have squeezed out the excess so it's damp but not soggy. I'm just going to spread it out in this pot. Messy little pine needles everywhere, and I'm just going to lay these separately so that they are in contact with the moss at the bottom of the stem there. I've got a few more over here. I don't know if this will work. They are very fleshy leaves, they're very soft, and I think clearly the plant was quite thirsty. It seems like quite a thirsty one. Might put that one in there as it's slightly longer. Actually, no. I'm just faffing about because I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to give this a go and we'll see, and I'll let you know. There we go. So I've just brought these all over here, and I'm going to give them a bit of a clean up. I'm going to spray the leaves down with horticultural soap, and I'm going to write on the pots these ones which are rooted and these ones which are not, because I think if any of them do succeed, it will just be interesting to know whether that's well, it could be a total fluke, but it would be interesting to know whether it has happened to one that was rooted or that wasn't rooted, and to see if that had any bearing on how well it has how well it has coped and how well it has rooted, and we'll see how these little leaf cuttings go. I would be delighted if they work out, not just so that I have the plant back again, but because it's just really exciting when propagations work and you take a bit of a guess and see how it's going to go. And yeah, I'd really like it to work out, and I'd really love to be able to show you little new leaves emerging one day. But I just feel a bit like I don't know if this is going to work, because they're just so fleshy. They're like really wet leaves. They're really soft, and they're not really anything like the Rana Verde, which are much more solid. So I don't know if these are just going to rot away. We'll see. I've just been clearing up my mess ready for bed, because little people will be running around in the morning, so I will start afresh again tomorrow. And I've put all the potted ones, rooted and unrooted, into this box. Not currently using it with a lid. I think I'd like to keep the ventilation just to avoid any mold issues. I have no idea if this is going to work out, but yeah, I'm just keeping them all together in this, so it's movable if I need to shift it about, but letting the light in, so we'll see. So yeah, so I've got them in, I've got clumps in soil, I've got leaves in soil, I've got leaves in water, and I've got leaves in sphagnum moss, and I've got rooted and unrooted ones. So yeah, bit of an experiment, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, more repotting tomorrow, more peperomia facts tomorrow. So yeah, see you. Hello, it is now well into the next day. I'm about to get on with some of the potting up, the repotting rather, and it occurred to me late last night after I'd gone to bed that I had completely forgotten one of my peperomia, which is this one here. It's quite ridiculous that I forgot it, because I was even talking about the hanger that it was in while I was filming, and it didn't twig. This is the hanger that I made at the Hutch houseplant macrame workshop with Rachel Larson-Carter. Really fun workshop, really pleased with the result. For me, that's a really bright colour, but I don't have a lot of bright colour in the house, so it's a really nice little pop. But yeah, this is Peperomia angulata or quadrangularis. Have I got that right? I think so. It has both of those names. I'm just gonna zoom in for you. Yeah, it's doing well. It's been here for a good few months. It has got some new growth coming in at the ends of some of the vines. There we go. Tiny little leaves. Seems to be doing okay. I don't think we've encountered any pests that I'm aware of. I've just checked the soil and it's not dried out completely, so I'm not going to water it for a while. But yeah, it's really beautiful. It's quite a dark green. It's quite ridgy. I thought this was in a fairly bright spot because it is right by this big window. But I think because it's just around the corner, I mean, you can see the camera having to adjust to the shade there. So it's probably not as bright a spot as I thought. But then I think it might be also the time of day, and it's quite a grey day. So I think this spot does actually get a lot more light than this usually. So I think it's okay. We'll see how it goes in that corner, and if I need to swap it and put something else there, then I will. I'm not going to get it down to show you because it's quite fiddly to well, actually I was going to say it's fiddly to get it out of the hanger. It doesn't need to come out of the hanger to come down, does it? Because it's an easy hook, but it's actually a bit tricky to reach in there past everything right now. So yeah, just having a good look from here. It's beautiful, lovely shape of leaves, really ridgy. Doesn't seem to be giving me any problems so far. I did cut off one vine and or was it two? I think it was one, and I put that in water and I watched that grow roots, and I recently potted that up in the previous video or two. So yeah, I just gave that away to a friend the other day actually. So that's gone. That's gone to a new home. That was really fun to watch. It was really easy to propagate. I would totally do that again. It was really nice to watch it in the water, and yeah, had a good success with that. Getting down to business again. So here are the Peperomia scandens variegata, which I'm going to combine. So I'm just going to start by getting them out of their pots and loosening the soil and checking out their roots. Looking really good, nice and damp. And this is the one that I got. Actually, I can't tell. Of the two, I can't tell which is the one I bought and which is the one I got from the plant swap, but this one has rooted really well, and it's got very fine roots, but they are wrapping around the whole pot, so it's filled that space I'm just going to try not to disturb it too much, actually, just because the roots are so fine. I don't want to like overly massage the soil. I'm just going to loosen some of the bits at the top, which will crumble away anyway quite easily. But I think the rest of it, I might just leave it as it is, because as long as the pot is the right size for the two of them to fit into without kind of like reshaping the roots too much, then I shouldn't really need to disturb them. They can just sit in. They're not like so root bound that they're going round and round in circles and being in dreadful shape. They're just filling the space that they're in nicely. So there we go. So I think that's all I'm going to do with that one. I'm just going to bring it closer for you to see. So yeah, I've just kind of like taken the crusty top off, you know how it kind of levels out. I've just kind of taken those corners off, and I've just gently teased that apart, but I'm just basically going to leave that as it is and get that into the pot. So this is the one I'm going for. I don't know what that size is, but it's bigger than what it was in before, you can see. So I'm just going to get a bit of soil into the bottom of that one because it's not really deeply rooted, so I just want to give it a base to sit on. That's my bowl of houseplant composty perlite mix from last night. So yeah, just going to sit that on there for now until I've got the other half ready. So I'm just going to tip this out now. Okay, again looking pretty good. The camera might not pick up on it because they're fairly fine. Just gonna turn it the right way around and just ease off a bit of the topping bits. So this is when I had repotted this into houseplant soil with some perlite and some of the chunky orchid mix, which I'm now not going to be doing for peperomia at the moment. This is actually really moist because I watered it yesterday, but I have been finding that the soil in this one has been drying out so fast, almost every day, or every other day. I look in there and I feel it's just really, really dry. Oh, okay, down you go. That little section is just plopped out separately, so that's fine. It has got some little roots, but yeah. That can go over straight into the other pot, and we'll just see what the rest of this is doing. I just want to move really gently with this because they're such fine roots. I just don't want to be breaking them, and that I feel like that could happen really easily. So I'm just gently manoeuvring it to see if anything else wants to come away before I carry it over there. And I think that's actually pretty good. Oh, there we go. I think that's about as much as I need to do. So I think what I'll do now is get rid of this old stuff and clear the decks for the new bit of soil. I'm just going to park this over there for a minute. So I'm going to try and arrange these so that they hang over the edge of the pot nicely, and so that the roots aren't, I don't want the plant too low in the pot so that the stems have to kind of like come up and over the edge of the pot. I just want them to sit like level with the top so that they're not going to have any pressure on them or like snapping. I'm just going to lift over the other one and see if it will just bed in next to that where there's some space down the other half of the pot. And I don't want to push it too hard in. I'm just going to see if it will gently lower down. It's looking good so far. This is already looking so nice, having all of it together. Might just swivel that around a bit. No, I think I liked it better the other way. And actually it sits in there a bit better, just a bit more like a jigsaw piece slotting in rather than being the wrong shape for the hole. There we go. So I think that over there is going to be the front of the plant. This will probably be in a hanger soon again. So I think that'll be kind of like the front and some bits coming out the sides. Kind of going in every direction, this one. Oh, there we go. That's kind of found its little nook. And then this little separate bit that fell out can come in the back. And then I can just fill in around it all. So I think it's going to look a little bit funny and straggly and wayward for a minute, because obviously these have been growing in different directions in different spots. But I do really love the size of this plant now. There's just so much leafiness all together. I really love this plant. It's pale and beautiful, and yeah, I think it's going to be really nice to let this settle in, find its way, and when I've put it properly in place, let it get used to that situation, and the leaves will turn to where they want to be, and it will start to look a bit more tidy and together. At the moment it all just looks really jiggly jangly, but I do love it. I'm going to give this a drink, and I'm going to pop it in this pot. I had this one spare hanging around, and it's just I matched up the pot to it earlier, so I know it fits. So I'll just go give this a drink, and I think I'm going to just spray it with horticultural soap, just because I don't know how many times I've said thrips on this video, but as you've seen, I've had a lot of discoveries of thrips on the other peperomia, and just as they've been nearby to each other, I just want to give it the best chance not to have thrips. So I'm going to give it a spray. Yeah, give it a spray with horticultural soap, and I'll show it to you when I've done that. There we go, all lovely. I've also just slightly untangled the stems to kind of make sure they're not all just like hooked over each other in funny directions, just so they've got the best chance of settling down in a nice kind of spread. So I had a hanger for one of these, but it was a smaller pot, so I'll see if the hanger still fits it. And actually I had moved it from being hanging up. Oh yeah, that's right, I'd put it on a big candlestick, so I think I'll just go and put it straight back there actually, because I've since put a different plant in where this one was hanging up, so it doesn't need to be in a hanger. I'm going to go put it on its pedestal type thing. I've been picking up a lot of really cheap stuff to put plants on lately at the tip and in charity shops, and these were some really cheap candlesticks. They're for that kind of candle that you just, a big fat one that you just stick on a spike. So my husband kindly bashed the spikes off for me, and now plants can sit on them. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, should be happy. Just before I popped this here, I came to make some room just to make sure that it was going to have enough space now that it's got so much more plant to it. Ew. And there was a plant here which I will just show you in the shower. It's this lovely one. I always forget its name. I will tell you in a minute. But yeah, it has spider mites. I've been battling spider mites on this plant for months, and just when I think it's finally clear, I relax a bit and don't check it so frequently, and when I then look at it again, it's covered in them. So they obviously really like that plant. And until now, they hadn't started to then go and look at other stuff. Sorry, messy bedroom. But just discovered them on my beautiful new philodendron. And yeah, all over this nearest leaf, which was next to that plant. So I've just been around squashing all of those because they're actually quite easy to find on this plant, whereas on the other one there's just so many crinkles, it's very hard to find them all. So I'm going to give it a thorough shower later and do some more soap, and it does keep them at bay when I do that, and the plant is doing really well considering how long it's been fighting spider mites. It's putting up a good fight, but I'm just tired of dealing with it, to be honest. And I wanted to know, what is your threshold for how long you are dealing with the same pest on the same plant? Like, I don't want to throw that plant out. It's a beautiful plant. It's underlyingly, it's still in really good shape, really healthy. It's beautiful. It's not one that I've seen anywhere else for sale. I would find it hard to replace it, and I really, really like it. Yeah, so... But it's just getting really wearing, to be honest. I'm getting pretty bored of dealing with spider mites on that plant. So can you guys tell me, what is your most effective way of dealing with spider mites? I don't know why I'm focusing on this plant endlessly. Let's show you the other one. So this is the one. I think I've shown you this a few videos ago in one of the new growth videos, because it had new leaves, which are doing fine. It's so beautiful, but it is so covered in spider mites. It's probably going to be hard to show you the actual spider mites themselves, but just showing you the leaves and how veiny and crinkly they are, and kind of ripply and undulaty. You can see them, a few dots of them. What I mean is, it's hard to make sure you've got all of them because there are quite a few leaves on this plant. It can be easy to miss them. There's one. Yeah, it can be easy to miss them, and they can be hiding away. So I have to do a very thorough job with this, whereas the philodendron you just saw it's really easy to make sure you've spotted them all. But yeah, I'm gonna keep on fighting for this plant. But I would love to know, do you have any recommendations of things that have worked well for you for clearing spider mites long term? Because I'm getting a bit fed up. I suppose I could just go back to predatory mites, couldn't I? I think that's probably what's calling out to me next. I did have a season of using predatory mites, but when they all finished, I didn't get more. And that was before I had this plant, I think. So I think it'd be worth investing in some of those, and they can live on this plant. But yeah, for now, I'm really wary of putting this plant back on this windowsill, because I've got this lovely dangling Hoya, I've got this lovely Peperomia back in place, and this is a precious plant. It's got a new leaf unfurling again. So I really don't want to be putting something back here that has spider mites. I could put it over on this windowsill because I recently cleared some stuff off there, and the Syngonium could go elsewhere. So I could leave that just for the one that's in the shower. Sorry that I always forget its name. I don't use it, I don't say it very often to anybody else in my life. It's only really when I feature it in a video that I have to suddenly remember its name. But yeah, anyway, that's a bit of an aside. So back to Peperomia. Okay, I'm back at my little temporary potting station, and I'm just having a look at these two little Peperomia verticulatas. Sorry for any noises, that's just my husband going off for some exercise. And this one as well, which is the same but different. So they need to go into a contained environment. So I'm just looking at the glass bottles and jars that I've got, and to see what will suit them and what I like the look of. So I have a few options. One is this little bottle, got that in a charity shop recently, about £1.50. It's got a little cork. Oh, good sound. I think this would really suit this little verticulata because it's quite spindly and narrow, and it is quite a narrow bottle, but it's quite tall. And these can potentially get quite tall if they have the space. So I think they will do well in there. So I'll put those together to one side for now. And then I have this container actually. I'm not sure if it's going to be suitable for anything today, but I'll show it to you anyway because it's quite fun. This was at Blackdown Garden Centre. It was in their Christmas section where they were selling everything off half price recently. It's just a glass canister of straws, festive straws. It was a £5 and it was half price, so it was £2.50. And it's just a really beautiful, lovely quality, like thin glass container with a cork. and I just thought it'd be really lovely with something planted in there. I was thinking of using it today for something, but I'm just not sure it's the right circumference. So I've got this other little one, which is, I just feel like that would hit the sides a bit too much. So I might save this for something else. Yeah, I'll save that for now. I also have this planted terrarium that I did a month or two ago, and I just need to pull out the Kentsia palm because it's gone really mouldy. All of the little sections of Kentsia palm that I put in terrariums have gone like this. They're kind of a bit brown, they're kind of speckled with white. They're obviously just not happy with the moisture levels, even though I have seen people planting them in terrariums before. But I know it's not the terrarium itself that's the problem, because everything else is happy and growing well and it doesn't have that on it. So it's definitely that plant. So I'm just going to pull that out, because I think it would be really nice to make use of the fact that this is a successful terrarium that isn't very full, and put a peperomia in there. So I could save it and put some other peperomia in there some other time. I'm wondering if it might be a nice one for this one. It's a bit wider. Yeah, I think that's going to work. So we'll just somehow fungus gnats have got in here. I guess they were in the soil. They've met a bit of a sticky end in there. I would like to get some springtails and put them into my terrariums to deal with any like mould and decay, but I haven't done that yet. So, oh look, that is so easy. Oh, I thoroughly recommend having some nice long tweezers if you're dealing with terrariums. That just made that so simple. Just grab on. They obviously have not rooted, they've just rotted. Oops. There we go. Everything's looking kind of okay. I feel like it could do with a tiny bit more moisture. Soil looks a bit sandy and dry. Some bits of the moss are a bit brown, but I think that could improve with a bit more moisture. There are quite a few fungus gnats rolling around in there. So yeah, this has got, oh, there's one more bit of the Kentsia palm hiding away. Get to that. That's gone. That's everything now. So yeah, so we've got a little Fittonia, a little green and white one, two bits of it there, or 3 bits of it actually, and they are looking absolutely dandy, really nice, really healthy. And a little bit of Pilea glauca, is it? No, Pilea depressa, I think that one is. Yeah, Pilea depressa. That's been doing really well in terrariums. They do get quite tall quite quickly in terrariums, but I can always pinch a bit out and like take the top off and put it back into the soil. I'm not going to do that right now though. I'll let it grow a bit taller first. So I'm going to unpot this little peperomia, and oh, how am I going to get that in there? I've got a lot of moss in there already. I could do it as cuttings. It would be interesting to try it as cuttings, but I kind of want to make the most of the roots if they're in good condition. So I'm just gonna see about that. Yeah, they look good, or do they? They might be a bit rotten. Yeah, okay. I think they might be a little bit rotten. So I just feel like they're a bit soft and easy to snap. I'm just going to loosen the soil a bit and see if I can find out a bit more about their condition before I make a decision on whether I'm going to plant it in there or put the cuttings in. Oh, that's a nice feeling. That's the feeling I was looking for when I was dividing up the peperomia last night that you saw me have to completely take apart. That feeling of it just, you know, the small roots snapping apart, but the big stems easily coming, and it then holding on to a good network of roots for its own section. That's what I was looking for. So I think it might just be the roots down at the bottom half that are a bit not as great. And they're not as bad as I thought, actually. I think they just looked bad. Just going to take that bottom section off though anyway. Okay, let's see what we've got at the top. Is that 1 or 2? I think that's 1 little plant. Yeah. So I could do 2 little plantings. So I could put one, I think I will do that. I'll put one in this container that you've just seen, and then I'll have this bit. Oh, I could put it over in there. Put it in the straw pot. That would be nice because it will not take up so much space now. I'm going to do that because that'll be fun to have 2 of them. Okay. And also if one fails, then it kind of gives me a bit more hope that the other one might not. So I'm just going to take off a bit more of the roots, and then I'm going to have to try and make a hole in the existing terrarium for this. So that's going to be slightly challenging. I'm just going to take this over to the tap and give it a good kind of wash off. Oh look, there's a thrip. Surprise, surprise. They are so annoying. They obviously really like Peperomia. Okay, gonna wash it off. Sun's just come out, that's nice. So that one's done. It's got a lot of potential to spread out and grow upwards. I don't feel like the moss is that happy, so I could always take that out and top it off with gravel instead. I've got a big bag of gravel out the back, which I could use for that. And I do think that although I love moss and how green it is, I do think that plants can actually kind of be shown off a bit more sometimes against the gravel. Also this moss is not green, it's kind of khaki brown. I don't think it's alive. It doesn't seem rooted. You could probably see how easy it was to move around, but I've left it in there now just for now, and we'll see how it goes. But I can envisage that I might just remove all the moss soon and put some gravel down. So the next little terrarium that I'm going to do for the where's it gone, the other section of that same plant, the little strand of 2 stems, that one I'm going to do with gravel straight away, because I don't have any new moss to hand at the moment currently, and I think it will show off the plant a bit more and it won't rot. So I'm going to do that. As usual, at this time of the day, I start to be up against it in terms of timing because of school run. So I may end up finishing some of this this evening. I won't be able to do it tomorrow because I'm with my daughter all day tomorrow. So yeah, we'll see what I can squeeze in. I'm not going to hurry too much. I'm just going to tinker away, and I might not talk you through all of it. I might just do it and then speed up bits of it because this is probably going to be a very long video as it is. But yeah, I'm going to do that next little terrarium and see where we go from there. There we go, that one's all finished. I really like this one. It has plenty of room to grow upwards. We'll see how it goes. I hope it will stay clear of thrips now that I've cleared those away. I really like the layering in this one. I've got some large pea gravel at the bottom, and then the houseplant mix with some perlite, and then the little tiny gravel at the top as a little kind of dressing. I've just noticed I did knock one leaf off, and that's just in the gravel there. Whoops. That was while I was obviously cleaning and stuff, I think, or when I was positioning it, or it could have been the gravel knocking off. Yeah, it is a bit fiddly, but it's done now, and maybe that leaf will root, maybe it won't. We'll see. I can always get my my tweezers in there and pull it out if it starts to rot. But yeah, they look like cute little palm trees, don't they? So I think that's a really nice one because it's really simple. I like the straight sides of it. I do have 2 more of these filled with straws, so I can do future little terrariums with other plants at some point. But yeah, that was quite fun. So I do now need to go. So later, still yet to do with Peperomia in this video is to just do this one into the glass bottle, and I also want to repot this one because I don't like the soil that it came with. So I think that is then everything. So we are getting towards the end of all my Peperomia jobs that I've been wanting to do. It's been a very Peperomia couple of days, which is fun, and now that they're sorted, then hopefully they'll be happy for a little while before they need anything else doing with them. Alright, I've just hauled myself out of bed. I was falling asleep while reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to my son. Every sentence my eyes were just getting heavy, and I started saying nonsense phrases instead of the right words. But I'm gonna perk myself up. I'm gonna have a cup of tea. I've lit a load of candles. I love this kind of time of the evening where I can just kind of get things tidy and clean, and lighting the candles is just so relaxing and cozy. And yeah, I will need to put some brighter lights on to do some potting, but I think I'm going to do it here in the kitchen because I think it's just slightly lighter. I will need to probably put some brighter lights on, but I think I'm going to put over here in the kitchen because I just feel like it might be a bit less messy, and it's only one plant to pot up or to repot. So yeah, last one to do. And I've been enjoying taking some nice daylight photos of some of the Peperomia today, and that's been really nice actually. I just love photographing plants. They are sort of a transient thing in that, you know, sometimes they grow in a way that changes their shape, or sometimes it's a plant that you don't keep forever. So having a nice photographic record of when you were looking after it and when it was healthy and beautiful is really nice. I find it nice to kind of look back like a sort of photo diary of my plants, and I've just had lots of photos of them ever since I started. So it's nice to go back over and go, oh yeah, that's how that looked at that time, and that's how that grew, or that's how this one compares to the one I have now. Anyway, so that's been enjoyable. I did actually end up doing the other little terrarium quickly before the school run. I just squeezed it in. I didn't film it, but I thought I would just show it to you now, finished. So I'll just go and grab that. So it's got about 5, I think maybe 5 different stems of the Peperomia verticulata in there. That's the littler, more dainty one, and they're just rootless, and they're just stem cuttings that I've poked down through the thin layer of gravel down to have the base of the stem in the soil there. So hopefully they will start to root and take off. Hopefully we'll see some good growth, so I'll keep you updated on how that goes. And yeah, I'm actually really enjoying these more upright terrariums with just one single plant in. It's quite nice having like a cylindrical, narrow, tall, bottle-y type of terrarium. And it's quite nice to just focus the terrarium on that one plant instead of trying to arrange several plants together and make space for them all. And it kind of means you can just check up on how that one plant is doing and kind of see how it's coping with that environment. Yeah, so that's fun. I don't know where these are going to live yet. I might keep them in my workroom because they don't need watering, because they're all self-contained and should be not needing any attention really. it'll be a good one for my workroom because I'm not in there all the time and I'm not always in there for very long when I do go in there. So it'll be a good place to have something pretty that will get lots of light but that just won't need watering. So I think that's probably the way forwards with these for where they can go. Anyway, onwards with the last bit of potting. Alright, let's see what the roots are like. I'm hoping we can use a smaller pot because there's a lot of bare soil here, and yeah, I'm sure it doesn't need a pot this big. Okay. So you can see the roots have come right to the edge, but they don't really reach all the way deep down into the bottom of the pot. So I'm gonna see how much of this I can get off the plant, just very gently. Like chocolate brownie. Okay, that's just fallen off. It is a very fragile plant. If you move it around, bits do fall off, but I'm hoping I can put that back in, either propagate it separately and then plant it in later, or keep it as a separate plant, or just plant it in now when I've potted this up. There's a big chunk of soil. I'm just going to kind of, rather than try and tease out all of the soil from the roots, I'm going to try breaking it into chunks and divide it, because it's obviously separate little plants, which are quite, quite tangled together. Oh, so tricky. I could do with another pair of hands at this stage to support these lumps of soil and tease these apart. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little clumps with roots, and then 1, 2, 3 bits of stem, 4 bits of stem that are rootless and that have just broken off. So I'll see if I can plant those back in, and then quite a lot of little leaves that have fallen off along the way. That's just how it was, but I felt like I just really did want to, it was worth the risk. I really did want to just separate this all out and see what I was working with, see what the soil, I could see what the soil was like, see what the roots were like, and they're really good. They're very, very fine, as with all peperomia, but there's plenty of them. So that's great, and I don't actually feel like I lost too many roots while I was getting the soil off, actually. Maybe fragments, but yeah, there's lots in amongst here. So I'm not going to try and get any more soil off to make it completely bare roots, because they really are very fragile, and that's plenty. I'll get them in some nicely perlighted soil now. After I'd potted up all the rooted cuttings, I took it over to the sink, gave it a drink, let it drain, and then brought it back to put some holes in the soil and pop in the rootless cuttings. So that should be hopefully settling in and being happy, and I feel like I can trust this soil. I really like that. It's more dumpy, it's more gathered in, doesn't have such big expanses of bare soil, and I know that the soil is going to probably long term be healthier for it. It'll look better against like a white pot or something, because the grey is very much the same kind of tone as that green, so it'll really pop when it's in a nice white pot. So I'm going to go and find something for it to go into. I don't know if I've got something the right size. We'll see what I can find. But before that, I'm going to put the little single leaves that snapped off into sphagnum moss. So I'm just going to give these a rinse to get any crumbs of soil off. There are quite a lot of them. These are some fruit punnets that I had. They all had holes in the bottom, and I decided to add some cling film to the bottom of 2 of them for the sphagnum moss, so that it would keep it in a nice humid environment, and I was going to put some cling film over the top afterwards as well. And then the little one on the right I'm using for the soil and perlite, and not bothering to close out the holes, but letting that be free draining. While I carry on with this, I thought it'd be a good time to tell you some extra Peperomia facts. The genus name Peperomia was coined by some Spanish botanists. Excuse my pronunciation of their names. They were Ruiz Lopez and Pavon Jimenez in 1794, after their travels in Peru and Chile. I love to imagine these conversations when they were like looking at their finds and deciding what to call them. I also love picturing their exploration on foot through the jungly, lovely foresty places, you know, looking through the undergrowth and studying plants and jotting things down, making drawings, collecting things, in a world before technology, where they were the ones finding things out for the first time. Peperomia come from a family of plants called Piperaceae in a subfamily Piperoidea. Another one is that Peperomia are a really particularly effective air purifier. They're able to reduce the level of formaldehyde indoors by 47%. I think that sounds pretty cool. There are over 1,000 in the wild, or in the world in total, and that's a number that's increasing all the time as more are discovered and more are cultivated. And there are over 100, I believe, types that you can grow as houseplants. That's really cool, and they're really varied. So I believe there's something for everyone. If you want to keep a houseplant, something that's not too big and that won't ever get too crazy, I highly recommend them. Peperomia can thrive in a variety of environments in the wild, so some are epiphytes like a lot of other plants are, and they grow up trees, in cracks in the bark, along branches, over logs, and then you get lithophytes growing on or between rocks, and xerophytes, which have thick succulent leaves and stems to hold a lot of water, and geophytes, which possess underground tubes to retain a lot of water as well. You know, different conditions in life. To round up this part 2 video, I will show you the repotted Peperomia all settled in. Here's the Peperomia pepper spot, which you saw me repot. That was about at least 2 weeks ago, so it's been settled in for a while. The soil is nicely drying out from when it had that nice long drink after repotting, and it's looking really good. Haven't really lost any leaves, and the tiny new leaves are getting slowly bigger, so they're still quite tiny. I'm just going to zoom in and show you some of the ones that have grown the most. There we go, you can see on the tips there, they are definitely way bigger. There we go. These are all definitely way bigger. And just here. Just everywhere really. They're all growing fine. I'm not going to check the ones that I put in there rootless, the ones that had fallen off during the repot, because they are just by nature quite fragile. They lose leaves easily just by touching, even when they're in good health. So I don't want to risk doing that. But it's looking good so far, nothing's rotted off, so hopefully those stemless cuttings will be making roots and bedding in. So yeah, I'll just keep an eye on it. And then this is the window of my little workroom, and obviously it's dark, it's nighttime right now, but this is a nice bright little windowsill, and I'm not currently free to come in here very often, especially during the day. So it's really good having these 3 Peperomia terrariums in a state where they don't need to be watered, so I'm not going to lose them from lack of watering. So yeah, they seem really happy, and I'll see how they grow. So this area where I've had an assortment of plants for a while has now become properly devoted to Peperomia. I've had a rejig. Things that were there that were not Peperomia have gone elsewhere, and anything Peperomia, any Peperomia from around the house have been moved now to this spot, and it's just really nice having them in one area, partly visually and partly so that I can tailor my care to them in one place instead of going all around the house all the time, and sort of it being a bit haphazard. It's really, really nice to just focus on them there, and I do love them so much. I love the variety. I think they look great together, and I sit here quite a lot. When I do sit down, it's often at this sofa during the day, and the light here is lovely, so they're getting lots of nice light, but not too much like burny direct sun, actually, just a lot of really ambient light during the day, which is lovely for them. So yeah, I will show you this more in detail in the next video. I have acquired quite a substantial amount more different species, varieties of Peperomia since beginning filming these videos, and I would love to share them with you. So I'm going to do a Peperomia part 3, and that's going to include a visit to Hutch because they have a lot of great Peperomia all the time. And then yeah, I'll show you what I find there, and any other Peperomia I've picked up along the way. It's been a lot of fun to give a bit more attention to Peperomia lately and sort of enlarge my collection, hone my collection, and take care of them. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like and share and follow and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!